come around to say hello. One-on-one, I'm so fly. You took a nosedive. Careful when you play on my level. For you, it's so. Hey, hello.
Motorola Razr 50 Ultra. Flip the script.
Hello, Moto.
I want to also talk about reforms, judicial reforms, which is an issue close to your heart. A very recent case that has grabbed the social media space talks about this man, who has a 34-year-old man who has committed suicide, Atul Subhash. And he brings up his tryst with the courts, with a matrimonial case, and what he went through. While I don't know what's the truth, what's not, we only know the version from a dying declaration that this man has given. But it does throw up the light on the issue of what happens in the lower courts.
Yes.
As the former Chief Justice of India, you must have read about this case. What do you think about this case and the issue of the crying need for judicial reform?
I agree with you when you began by saying that honestly we don't know the truth of what happened. You have on the one hand the suicide note which has been widely reported in the media. You also have the complaint by the wife which has also been reported in the media. And, particularly when human relations are involved, as in the case of a spousal conflict, it's very difficult for us sitting, in the course of a platform like this to actually deduce as to what happened between them at that particular point of time. Very often in personal relationships, including spousal relationships, the conflict is not between right and wrong. It's a conflict sometimes between right and right. It's sometimes a conflict between wrong and wrong. And that's perhaps, reflective of what happens in the court very often. I'm not talking about this particular case because, I don't want to be even remotely saying that, one of them was at fault and the other wasn't. We just don't have the relevant facts, which would be deduced on the basis of evidence. But what is of concern to me, and I share your concern, is that particularly in the context of family law, our society is undergoing this huge flux. More and more young people are extraordinarily mobile socially, economically. Women are up in the employment space, in the workplace. Marriage is under stress because spouses live in two different parts of the country or two different parts of the world. Now, this is putting tremendous stress on the family as a unit in our society. And I don't think that our judicial system today is equipped to deal with these issues of family conflict. Yeah, we have our laws. We have the family law. We have our personal laws. We have the Hindu code. We have the other laws governing other communities. But, our model for resolution of family disputes is a purely adversarial model, which is just not appropriate for resolving family disputes. Once spouses get into a matrimonial discord, I've seen that happen repeatedly. The longer it takes to resolve their disputes, the worse it becomes. Because then they start washing all the dirty linen, they tend to rope in each other's relatives, and then there's a point of no return which is reached for spouses. We have to really completely alter the structure of judicial decision-making, particularly in the context of family law. And we have to move away from a fault-based theory into a more mediative approach to resolving family disputes. But that's, of course, a very serious issue which has to be debated upon. But I believe that, our family law today has to be completely reworked in terms of its procedural underpinnings. We have to have a completely different approach from the court system to resolve family disputes. Otherwise, I've seen young couples getting into a dispute when they were 23 and 24, and they are fighting until they are 40 years old, sometimes 50. I even had a matrimonial dispute in a Parsi matrimonial case when I was a judge of the Bombay High Court, when the disputing parties were in their late 80s. And you can imagine, lives are destroyed. So we need to completely alter the structure of the Indian judicial system, particularly in the context of family disputes.
Justice Chandrachud, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and I just want to end this by asking you on a personal note. How have the last 4 weeks since you demitted office been for you? Do you feel less pressure? Do you feel less judged? Because you know, when you're in that big chair up there, the public scrutiny is very, very intense. How's life today?
Well, you know, when you step down from the bench, you realize what a great opportunity and what a great time it was, a memorable time in your life, where you could actually make a difference to the lives of individual citizens. And perhaps in that sense decide in whichever way the course of our society for the future. But having laid down office, I can now live the life of a private citizen, you know, unburdened of the responsibilities of office, not the pressures of office, but the responsibilities of office, because there's no case which is too small, there's no case which is too big. But at the end of it all, you know, you also judging a very difficult lifestyle, because you're aloof from friends, you're aloof from society. And I was a judge for 24 years. Now that I can have the ability to meet people, I realize what I missed, because I also realize how much our society has changed between the time that I was a lawyer and I'm back to being purely a private citizen.
So what are your plans next? Hobbies, following hobbies? Or many people want to ask this, and I'll just ask this on behalf of the entire citizenry of India. Are you planning a stint in politics anytime soon?
Well, what a question. I have my bucket list, and I'm right now in the heart of my bucket list. My bucket list was to learn a musical instrument, which I've begun learning to play now.
What are you doing?
I'm learning how to play the piano. It was a part of my bucket list for the last 24 years, which I couldn't do.
What kind of music?
I love to read. When I was a judge, I could read probably for about half an hour at the end of the day, which was well past midnight. Now I can actually pick up a book and curl up with a book and, you know, read a book which I would love to read at my own leisure. So I'm reading a beautiful book called A Year of Living Constitutionally. So by the way, it's a book on humor. It's on humor in the Constitution. It's not what you anticipate it would be. So I've been reading a lot, listening to music.
What kind of music do you like?
I actually listen to music across the spectrum. I'm very fond of Indian classical music. My mother was a disciple of Kishori Amonkar, Gan Saraswati Kishori Amonkar, so I've imbibed a lot of the Indian musical tradition. She was a singer of the Jaipur Gharana. And so I listen to a lot of Indian classical music, but I love to listen to Western pop music as well. I love the ABBA as much as I love the Beatles or so many of the other singers as well. So right now, I'm just taking things as they come, doing a little bit of private work as well. There's a joy of not, allowing your mind and your brain to rust in the leisure that you have. So I've got back to doing some private work as well. But I want to teach. Because I think one thing which has really given me enormous joy is, interacting with young people. So I want to teach, I want to write. And
politics on your plate?
Sorry?
Politics on your plate?
I don't think so. But as I said, these are the things which give me ultimate joy and pleasure. And above all, spend time with family. I realized that, I couldn't even have a complete conversation over lunch or dinner. And now I can allow our two daughters, Priyanka and Mahi, when they are trying to give me an idea on, they're both environmental activists and they're vegans and they've led me to become a vegan, to actually allow them to, have a discussion or a conversation and to allow it to take it to its logical conclusion. So a lot of family time. I've been enjoying that, traveling. Now let's see what avenues life.
You're not ruling out politics. Maybe not immediately, but
let's see what life has in store. But I'm very keen on sure of one thing. A judge, even after you retire as a judge, is always looked upon by society as a judge. And that's what distinguishes a judge from someone else in society. And I'm very clear in my mind that whatever I do after I've retired should not bring discredit to the institution which I manned for 24 years, because I'm nothing if it were not for the institution of the judiciary. So whatever I do, I hope I don't do anything which brings even the slightest discredit to the institution which made me what I am today.
Well, that's fantastic to hear, and if my audience gets the hint, we're not ruling out anything just yet. That's the big takeaway, but thank you very much, Justice Chandrachud.
Thank you very much,
for
Navika.
being with us, making this so special a conversation, and kudos to you, salute you for the faith and the honor that you brought.
It's been such a great pleasure and honor to be here. Thank you very much for having me, and thank you very much to everyone in the audience as well.